Okay, do you have any question before we start?
No, doctor, just a favor, if you please.
Okay, go on.
Concerning the layout of the exam, when you find it suitable to talk about it, concerning the layout, if
Okay.
possible, any time that you find it suitable for that. Because I really applied or did it one time with you, but I really wrote it from different point of view concerning the plot, the character, the etc. But concerning the attendance here and everything being done with you, doctor, it's totally different point of view and totally way of analysis different of the way that we studied it years ago. Well, thanks for such deep, detailed, and such a point of view to be studied this way. Thanks a lot, doctor.
Okay, thank you, my dear friend. Okay, we will talk
Thanks.
about the exam later on, at the end of the semester, if we can call it a semester. Okay. Now, concerning the answers, you have to use my notes. Okay, so you take the notes that you have
Yes.
taken in class, and you try to answer the question, and you have to choose the information that help you answer the question. So you can't write everything that you have written in class to answer a question.
Yes.
Okay? So
Okay.
let's say if you have a question on the tragic hero, you have to discuss the noble cause, the tragic flaw, and the understanding that the tragic hero achieves at the end of the play. Okay? So these are the three elements of tragedy, and they are available in all of the tragedies that you have studied. So if the question has to do with the tragic hero, you have to deal with these issues. Okay? Now, if the question has to do with the social order and the state of nature, so you have to discuss the reduction of the state into a state of nature, i.e. the reduction of society into a state of nature, and you have to discuss the characters that behave as if they were still living in the state of nature. And you should tell me that Shakespeare doesn't approve of the state of nature. That's why he restores the social order into the kingdom. So in this case, you discuss how the social order is restored, and you have to discuss the characters, or you have to refer to the characters that represent the social order as you present Shakespeare's view. When you write the introduction, you write a brief introduction. Let's say a 3 or a 5 sentence introduction to introduce the topic. Okay? So the introduction should be related to the topic. So you don't have to write about Shakespeare. Okay? So the students in the past years used to write about Shakespeare's life. So they used to tell me that Shakespeare is an Elizabethan poet. He was born in 54 or 56. He died in 1616. He wrote 37 plays. Some of them are tragedies, others are romances. So I don't want any of these pieces of information. When we teach writing, we tell the students that the introduction should present general ideas related to the topic. Okay, so we are going to discuss, let's say, the social order and the state of nature in King Lear. So you have to refer to the play, King Lear. And at the end of the introduction, you write your thesis statement. So in the thesis statement, you can say that through King Lear, and here King Lear should be underlined because it is the title of the play. So King Lear, Macbeth, Othello are titles of plays, and when you use them as titles, you have to underline them. Okay, so when you use Macbeth to refer to the character, you don't need to underline the word Macbeth. Okay, so this is how you differentiate between the book and the character. Okay, so at the end of the introduction, you say that through King Lear, i.e. the play, you have to underline it. Shakespeare presents, let's say, the dialectical relationship between the state of nature and the social order to come to the conclusion that the social order is the civilized universe that man has to live in. So in this case, when you write this thesis statement, I realize that you know what you're going to write about. And I realize that Shakespeare is against the state of nature and he approves of the social order. So to show that Shakespeare approves of the social order, you have to present the state of nature as it is presented in the play. Okay? So the state of nature in Shakespeare's plays leads to the destruction of the human universe. It leads to the destruction of the human life as a human being in the place. Okay? So in this case, man becomes closer to animals. Okay? And so in this case, the state of nature violates the Renaissance philosophy of the great chain of being. And we discussed the great chain of being at the beginning of the semester. I said at the bottom of the great chain of being, you have inanimate objects. Above them, we have animals. Above animals, we have man. We have man. Above man, we have angels. Above angels, we have God. So God is at the top. So if we look at this hierarchy of being, we realize that man is at the middle of this hierarchy. So man is at a mid position between God and angels and animals. So he is superior to animals and inferior to angels. Okay? So he is close to animals because he has a body. And the body is associated with instinct, with basic drives. So that's why man comes directly above the animals. Okay, so he shares some tendencies, some instincts with the animals, but he is superior to them because he has the mind. The mind associates man with or brings man closer to angels and to God. Okay, so the state of nature violates this great chain of being because it brings man down to the level of animals. Okay, so in this case, man is no longer superior to animals and no longer closer to angels and to God, so he becomes an animal. Again, Shakespeare doesn't approve of this point of view. So you discuss how animalism is introduced into the play that you have to discuss, be it King Lear or Macbeth or Othello. So we discuss it in detail. In the case of King Lear, you have Edmund, Rig, and Goneril as examples of the state of nature. Okay, and here you can elaborate on Edmund's soliloquy in Act 1 when he says, "Nature, thou art my goddess." Okay, so in this case, Edmund emerges as the embodiment of the state of nature. And I discussed this soliloquy in detail. So you may take my discussion of this soliloquy to explicate the state of nature that we have in the play. Is it clear? So when we are done with the state of nature, you, let's say, discuss the social order. The social order is represented, let's say, by Cordelia, by Edgar, by King Lear, i.e. by the good characters that want to preserve the social order and that want to preserve the natural order. Okay, we know that King Lear violated the natural order when he dismissed Cordelia, when he disowned and disinherited her. Okay, so you talk about this part of the play, then you write a conclusion. Okay, now before you discuss the social order and the state of nature in the play, you'd better. You'd better, i.e. you had better. This is a strong recommendation. You had better define your methodology. So your methodology here, i.e. the approach that you will use to answer the question, is the Renaissance philosophy of the state of nature and the social order. So in this case, you may write a paragraph, a short paragraph on the state of nature and another paragraph on the social order according to the philosophy of the Renaissance. Then you discuss these two aspects in your play, then you conclude. In the conclusion, you write a summary of the main points of your essay. You summarize the main ideas that are related to the state of nature and the social order as they are presented by Shakespeare. So this is the conclusion, and this is how we write an academic essay. Okay, so in an academic essay, we write an introduction that is related to the topic, and the conclusion is a summary of the main points. So at the end, you don't have to give a piece of advice. You don't have to ask questions. Okay, so some students use to advise everyone to read English. It is not your duty. I'm sorry to say this. It is not the duty of the student, nor the duty of the teacher to say in the conclusion that I advise everyone to read English. It is not our duty. Our duty is to analyze, to deal with a certain topic related to a certain work of literature, and in the conclusion we summarize the main points. We state them in other words. Is it clear? Okay, Ali, are you listening?
Yes, doctor.
Okay. Now some students define it in an essay that answers this question. They wrote a, a definition of the state of nature, the social order, a definition of tragedy, a definition of the philosophy of the Renaissance that I discussed in class. So in this case, they wrote a 2-page introduction. This is not necessary. Okay? So if the question is related to the social order and the state of nature, you may define the state of nature and the social order. If the question is related to tragedy, you may define tragedy and the major implications of tragedy. Okay? So the noble cause, the tragic flaw, and the understanding. And if you want to discuss poetic justice, it's fine, i.e. the restoration of order. If you want to discuss it from a mythical point of view, introduce the topic, and then discuss the play from a mythological point of view. You don't need to write a methodology here because I didn't discuss the mythological approach in detail as I did in the mythology and archetypes course. So in this case, you are exempted from writing a methodology. Okay? Or if you want, since you have collected information from here and there about myth and the role of the king, according to this, so you may write in a short paragraph your methodology that presents the king from a mythological point of view, then you apply it to the play. Okay? So if you want to discuss the king from a mythological point of view, so you have to tell me that according to this, the king is the source of life to his nation. And in this case, you have to discuss the two types of ruler that Shakespeare presents in each play. Okay, so in Macbeth, you have to present Macbeth, the evil ruler, the Machiavellian ruler who rules by cunning and force. And you have to present how he rules the nation. Okay, so you have to contrast him with Duncan. Duncan is a good ruler. That's why nature condemns the crime of murdering King Duncan, and you have to refer to the events that take place in the play to show that Duncan represents order not only at the level of the state, but also at the level of the universe. Okay, so the king is God's image on earth. The king is killed. There is disorder at the level of the universe. So that's why darkness enwraps the universe, although it is day. That's why the horses eat each other. So this is the reversal of order. So because he is a good king, because he is a source of life to the nation, his death has led to disorder and to the destruction of life in this universe. Okay? And then you write a paragraph or two on Malcolm who restores the order. So Malcolm is the good king, and now I will discuss his own virtues. Okay, then you conclude. Okay, so this is how you should answer. So you don't have to write everything. Okay, some students write a booklet to answer one question. So sometimes I have two booklets. Okay, so if we have two questions, I usually have two booklets. Each booklet presents an answer to one topic. This is too much. Okay? So you have to choose the information that helps you answer the question.
Exactly. Just abide by the question.
Okay, go on.
Just to abide by a question. That's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
yes, to abide by, yes, by the question, yes, by the topic.
So it's clear that it should be an essay, academic essay in this way.
Yes, usually I will give the students 2 questions. A
Mm.
question that is allocated 60 points, and in this case, the student has to write an essay. And a question that is allocated 40 points. In this case, you can write the answer without writing an essay because you may not have time. But in fact, you have time. You have 2 hours. Okay? So if you manage your time properly, you can write 2 essays within 2 hours. So you can write 1 essay in 1 hour and another essay during the second hour. But students usually like. I have studied at a private university. I taught at private universities before coming to the Lebanese University. I used to give my students 2 questions. Okay, and they didn't say we don't have time. Okay, anyway, for this year, I may give you, I said I may, I haven't decided yet. I will decide at the end of the semester. I may give you 2 topics. You choose one. Okay, so in this case, I may take the circumstances into account.
Thank
So I
you.
may give you 2 topics, and you will have to write an essay, a well-organized, thought-out essay on 1 topic. So in this case, you have 2 hours to write an essay. So I will write a well-organized, thought-out essay on 1 of the following 2 topics, if I want you to choose. Or I may give you 2 questions, an essay question, and a short answer question. So we will talk about this at that. Okay?
Okay. Just one more thing, Doctor. Just a little bit.
Okay, go on.
You've talked about the thesis. What about the introductory statement to our own introduction?
To the introduction?
The introductory statement for our own introduction.
Okay, well, let me tell you one thing. Now, the introduction, according to the academic rules of writing an essay, should follow the funnel approach.
Exactly.
There is a funnel. So the introduction is like a funnel. It starts with a very broad idea. The second idea is narrower than the first. The third is narrower than the second. The fourth is narrower than the third, until we come down to the thesis statement, which is the most specific statement of the introduction. Okay?
Yes.
So you can't write the thesis statement at the beginning of the introduction. This is wrong.
For sure.
Okay? It is wrong. Okay? So I remember I was teaching at a private university, and the students used to write the thesis statement at the beginning of the introduction. I said this is wrong. They said to me, but we used to do this at school. I said, what you got at school is wrong. In fact, it is wrong. Because at school we teach different types of introduction, but at university we also teach different types of introduction, but we want the students to use the academic way in their major courses. Okay? So the thesis statement is written at the end of the introduction. Now, at the beginning of each body paragraph, you have to write a topic sentence.
Topic sentence.
Okay, we call it a topic sentence. Okay, so the topic sentence is the main idea of the paragraph. So when you write a topic sentence at the beginning of the paragraph, you tell me that you're going to discuss, let's say, Macbeth's flaw. So the whole paragraph should deal with Macbeth's tragic flaw. Okay? Yes, Macbeth's tragic flaw is that he valorizes imagination over reason. And I have mentioned this many times before. Okay? So because he trusts the witches, which are the product of imagination, Macbeth makes a mistake. And as a result of this tragic flaw, Macbeth reduces himself to the level of arrogance. So in this case, you have to discuss how Macbeth is controlled by the id and how the id leads to his destruction. So it is not enough to say that Macbeth's tragic flaw is that he valorizes imagination over reason. You have to present supporting details to prove your topic sentence. Okay? So he valorizes imagination over reason. So the ranking of imagination above the reason leads to the destruction of man's life as a human being. Okay? So by valorizing imagination, Macbeth activates the id, which is supposed to be suppressed in the unconscious. Okay? So Macbeth becomes aggressive as an animal. And according to Freud, the function of the id is limited to the first 3 years of our lives. If the id controls our lives when we grow up, we become aggressive. Okay? And in the play, Macbeth becomes aggressive. He becomes an animal. So we have to discuss Macbeth's animalistic behavior and the consequences of this animalistic behavior, the destruction of the kingdom. So the kingdom is no longer the mother earth. Somewhere he describes, I think Ross described Scotland as a mother who is no longer a mother. And here the mother is the mother earth, according to myth. Okay, so the mother earth is a source of life, a source of continuity of life, a source of fertility. So Scotland has lost its position as a mother earth. It is no longer a source of life. It is a source of death because Macbeth enjoys destroying, decimating the lives of his opponents. Okay? So this is his tragic flaw. So it leads him not only to his own destruction, it leads him also to destroy the kingdom. So the kingdom is no longer a mother earth, according to the Scottish people. So this is his tragic flaw. You are done with the tragic flaw. You have to discuss the understanding that he achieves, and we will discuss this at the end. Okay?
Yes.
So this is how you write a well-organized, thought-out essay. Now, sometimes students discuss the tragic flaw. They mention the tragic flaw in the first 2 sentences, then they go back to the noble cause, then they go forward to the understanding or to the restoration of order. This is illogical. Okay? So a well-organized, thought-out essay. Thought-out means it is the result of thinking. It is logical. This is the meaning of thought-out. So this is the meaning of logic. So the ideas should be presented in a logical way. Okay? So,
Yes.
so at the beginning of each paragraph, there should be a topic sentence.
Exactly.
Okay? So I think this is, maybe this is what you said, the introductory sentence. Okay? So it is called the topic sentence. Is it clear?
Very clear. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, not at all. Anyway, all of you have studied academic writing before, so you may have come across these issues.
Yes.